Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are going to continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. We are on chapter 4. And we have to read the text 31 today. Does anyone remember what we read yesterday?
We were reading the prayers the Dakṣa Maharaj was offering and the Haṁsa-guhya prayers. So we were reading few of them, and then we continued about like how Shravanam Kirtanams is purify your hearts. It reaches to your inside, and then how a person becomes pure devotee by Shravanam Kirtanam. And then there was this Ainanditanuja Kinkaram, the Cheto Darpan Marjam Shikshashtakam part also revealed that how I want to be your Sanatan Sevak. I just want to serve you, and how I have fell in this material world. But please, if you could help me take out from here and put me at your lotus feet. And then they also mentioned that how this material world is a place of all sadness, dukhalam asashlay. So they also mentioned that the sukh, the haladini shakti provides all the happiness. It is the greater energy, of superior energy of Krishna. But when in this material world, if we are away from Krishna, that becomes Maya, the reason for all our tap and dukh. And then they also mentioned that if we are not doing the bhakti, if people are not able to do bhakti and they're not able to realize, then it becomes becomes very difficult to get Krishna. But for a devotee, it is very easy, and he gets to Krishna very, very easily. And then Dakṣa Maharaj also mentions about the qualities of Krishna, that how this material world, he's away from, he's pare, wo material world ke pare hai, bhautik jagat ke pare hai. And even the gunas doesn't impact him. And he's the cause of all the causes. And he was there present even before this universe or this Shrishti was made. And he offered obeisances to that Sri Krishna. And then he also mentioned ki then he was also mentioning that he's not Daridra Narayan, that you can't call, because people call him Daridra Narayan. But how can he be? Because Daridrita, like the being poor, is the quality of this world. And he is above all that. So when people call him that, then that's wrong. And we shouldn't be doing, because those are the material qualities, and he's above all that. He's the cause of all causes. And then you also mentioned the example of like how we've put the fire. Like if you, I'm not remembering that exactly, but when you put the fire, then it burns. When you start a fire, it burns, and then it doesn't burn it burns the whole thing. When you start a fire, it burns the whole thing. But if person realizes in Krishna, that Krishna is in everything, and you also mentioned that the Paramatma and Atma, that Krishna is in everything. Everything. He's there in everything, chahe wo bhautik vastu ho ya adhyatmik ho. And if we know that, then if we know about that he's present in everything, and janma karma chame divyam, his leelas and his roop, his naam, his gun, then we can get free and we can go back to the Param Dham, Golok, and then we don't have to come back and fall in this miserable world. We don't have to be in the cycle of this if we realize this. And then he also mentioned that we should take the he's the cause of all causes, and his body is Sachitananda Vigraha. And if we know this, if we get this gyan that he's the reason of all, he's the cause of all causes, then that person becomes a Purna Mahatma. And yeah, that's what I remember.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah. So then we'll continue with today's text 31. Yeah. Shaktayo vadatam vadinam vai
Yat
Shaktayo
shaktayo
vadatam
vadatam
vadinam
vadinam
ve
vivada samvada bhuvo bhavanti
Vivada
vivadasam
samvad bhuva bhavanti
bhavanti
kurvanti chaisam muhura mamoham
kurvanti cha
Kurvati
shamuhu atmam
muhuratmamoham
tasmai namo nanta gunaya bhune
tasmai namo
Tasmai namo
ananta
ananta
gunaya
gunaya
bhutale.
bhumne.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, who possesses unlimited transcendental qualities. Acting from within the cores of the hearts of all philosophers, who propagate various views, he causes them to forget their own souls, while sometimes agreeing and sometimes disagreeing among themselves. Thus, he creates within this material world a situation in which they are unable to come to a conclusion. I offer my obeisances unto him. Since time immemorial, or since the creation of the cosmic manifestation, the conditioned souls have formed various parties of philosophical speculation. But this is not true of the devotees. Non-devotees have different ideas of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. And therefore, they are called Vadis and Prativadis, proponents and counter-proponents. So the devotees, they take the information from the Vedas, they hear from Srimad Bhagavatam and then the other Vedic scriptures, and they understand how the creation is happening. But then there may be some who are wanting to speculate, imagine that the creation happened this way. And then someone will come back and say, no, 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 it may be like this. And another will say, no, it may be like that. Because after all, we can be really very imaginative, you know. It is understood from the statement of Mahabharata that there are many munis or speculators. Tarko pratishta shruta yo vibhinna. Nasa rishiryasya matam na bhinnam. All speculators must disagree with other speculators. Otherwise, why should there be so many opposing parties concerned with ascertaining the supreme cause? So like a philosopher, he disagrees with the previous philosopher and puts forth his own philosophy. You know, that's how another branch of philosophy is created. The devotees don't do that. They simply follow what the previous acharyas have given them. Philosophy means finding the ultimate cause. As Vedanta Sutra very reasonably says, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Human life is meant for understanding the ultimate cause. Devotees accept that the ultimate cause is Krishna, because this conclusion is supported by all Vedic literature and also by Krishna himself, who says, Aham sarvasya prabhava, I am the source of everything. So different philosophers say that different causes for the creation. But the devotees, what do the devotees accept as ultimate cause?
Krishna is
Why?
because they know, they have read from the acharyas in the bona fide, they are reading it in the parampara, so
Yeah.
they believe that.
Yeah, all the Vedas are saying that, and also
The guru, shastra and guru,
yeah,
Krishna
and also
himself is saying also.
and Krishna
yes,
also said.
yeah, Krishna has also said, Aham sarvasya prabhava, I am the source of everything. devotees have no problem understanding the ultimate cause of everything, but non-devotees must face many opposing elements. Because everyone who wants to be a prominent philosopher invents his own way. In India, there are many parties of philosophers, such as the Dvaitavadis, Advaitavadis, Vaisheshikas, Mimamsakas, Mayavadis, and Svabhavavadis, and each of them opposes the others. Similarly, in the Western countries, there are also many philosophers with different views of creation, life, maintenance, and annihilation. Thus, it is undoubtedly a fact that there are countless philosophers throughout the world, each of them contradicting the others. Now, one might ask why there are so many philosophers if the ultimate goal of philosophy is one. Undoubtedly, the ultimate cause is one, the Supreme Brahman. So one may say, then why are there so many philosophers? Why doesn't everybody just accept what Krishna is saying, what the Vedas are saying? But then each of us have our own desires, no? One may be submissive, but one may not be submissive. One may want to accept, but one may say, no, I don't want to accept the truth. So undoubtedly, the ultimate cause is one, the Supreme Brahman. As Arjuna told Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 10.12, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhava Purusham Shasvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. You are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original. And you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. So let's see, what is Arjuna saying Krishna's position? What is he saying? That Krishna is the
Supreme Brahman.
Supreme Brahman. He's saying he is
the ultimate.
He is the supreme abode,
and purifier.
purifier, absolute truth,
eternal divine person.
Eternal divine person,
Primal God, transcendental
God.
and original.
Primal God, transcendental and origin, and Dakṣa. I'm sorry.
Cause
Thank
You
you.
are
and the
the
original.
unborn and
I'm sorry.
all-pervading beauty.
Unborn and all-pervading beauty. So we can see in so many words, Arjuna is describing position of Krishna as the absolute truth. You're the original, you're the ultimate, you're the supreme Brahman, all-pervading beauty, unborn. So non-devotee speculators, however, do not accept an ultimate cause, sarva karana karanam, because they are ignorant and bewildered concerning the soul and its activities. Even though some of them have a vague idea of the soul, many controversies arise. And the philosophical speculators can never reach a conclusion. Because, if you don't want to accept authority, for example, somebody does not want to go to medical school to learn medicine. And then someone will say, make their own branch. Okay, maybe it can be like this. Then someone else will come and say, no, maybe it's like this. And then someone else will say, maybe it can be like this. And then each will have controversy against each other. All these speculators are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 16.19-20. So, see, the reason one does not want to accept the authority of Krishna, supremacy of Krishna, it boils down to our envy of Krishna. Why is he God? Why am I not God? Yeah. So Krishna says himself in the Bhagavad Gita, also chapter 7, that all embodied souls are born into delusion and hate. So anyway, in chapter 16, he's saying, Tan aham drishyata kruran samsareshu naradaman shipami ajar sam ashubhan asurishu eva yonishu asurim yonim apanna mudha janmani mam aprapayeva kaunteya tato yanti adhamam gati. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life, attaining repeated birth among the species of demoniac life. Such persons can never approach me. Because it's the desire. If somebody's desire is such, Krishna fulfills this desire. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Because Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, from him come remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And he's the one who's fulfilling our desires. So if one desires to forget Krishna, then Krishna gives them those opportunities to forget him. Whereas someone wants to remember Krishna, then Krishna gives him the knowledge and the remembrance of him. So because of the envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, non-devotees are born in demoniac families life after life. They are great offenders, and because of their offenses, the Supreme Lord keeps them always bewildered. Kurvanti Chesham Muhuratma Moham. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, purposely keeps them in darkness. Atma Moham. So someone will say, why is Krishna doing that? Why is he keeping them in darkness? Why? Because
It's their desire, the desire
Yeah.
so.
that's right. It's their desire to forget him. The great authority Parashar, the father of Vyasadeva, explains the personality of Godhead thus. Jnana Shakti Balashvarya Virya Tejam Se Asheshata Bhagavad Shabda Vachyani Veena He Yer Gunadibi. The demoniac speculators cannot understand the transcendental qualities, form, pastime, strength, knowledge, and opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which are all free from material contamination. Veena Heyer Gunadibi. So Parasar Muni, who's the father of Vyasadeva, is saying that Krishna's qualities, form, pastime, strength, knowledge, opulence, they're all transcendental. They're not material. So we may say, oh, what do you mean quality is not material? Because for us, quality means material. For us, strength is material. That's all our experiences. Because our experience is material, we think there is nothing beyond that. You know, like the frog in the well, because he's never been to the ocean. So he does not believe that there is an ocean also. And then with his own mind, he's trying to imagine how big the ocean could be. But simply if he accepts and hears, oh yes, there is an ocean, which is so much unlimitedly bigger than the well, then there's no problem. So these speculators are envious of the existence of the Lord, Jagat Ahur Anishwara. Their conclusion is that the entire cosmic manifestation has no controller, but is just working naturally. Thus they are kept in constant darkness, birth after birth, and cannot understand the real cause of all causes. This is the reason why there are so many schools of philosophical speculation. So, what is the reason of so many schools of speculation?
Because they have their own theories about
Why?
how the universe has come, because they don't want to, because they have that desire and they forgot Krishna and they don't believe and they're envious of Krishna.
Envious
So
of Krishna. Because of envy of Krishna.
envy.
That's right. Asiti nasit cha vastu nishthayo.
Asit iti na asti iti cha vastu nishtayo.
Ekasthayor bhinna viruddha dharmano.
Ekasthayo bhinna viruddha dharmano.
Avekshitam kinchana yoga sankhyayo.
Avekshitam kinchana yoga sankhyayo.
Samam param hi anukulam brahattat.
Samam param hi anukulam brahattat.
There are two parties, namely the theist and the atheist. The theist, who accept the super soul, finds the spiritual cause through mystic yoga. The Sankhyaite, however, who merely analyzes the material elements, comes to a conclusion of impersonalism and does not accept a supreme cause, whether Bhagwan, Paramatma, or even Brahman. Instead, he is preoccupied with the superfluous external activities of material nature. Ultimately, however, both parties demonstrate the absolute truth because although they offer opposing statements, their object is the same ultimate cause. They are both approaching the same Supreme Brahman, to whom I offer my respectful obeisances. There are actually two sides to this argument. Some may say that the Absolute has no form, Nirakar, and others say that the Absolute has a form, Sakar. Therefore, the word form is the common factor, although some accept it, Asti or Astika, whereas others try to negate it, Nasti or Nastik. Since the devotee considers the word form Akar, the common factor for both, he offers his respectful obeisances to the form, although others may go on arguing about whether the Absolute has a form or not. So many say that God is formless, but the devotee understands that God has a form. Krishna himself says that one who understands his form is transcendental, no need to come back again to this material world. Brahmaji is saying Krishna's body is Satchidananda. The Vedas are saying God's form is transcendental. So the devotee accepts the knowledge from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. In this verse, the word yoga, Sankhya, yoga is very important. Yoga means bhakti yoga because yogis also accept the existence of the all-pervading Supreme Soul and try to see that Supreme Soul within their hearts. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 13, Text 1, Jnana Visthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogina. The devotee tries to come directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the yogi tries to find the super soul within the heart by meditation. Thus, both directly and indirectly, yoga means bhakti yoga. So what Prabhupada is explaining here is the devotee, he wants to personally serve Krishna. He wants to engage in personal service of Krishna. And the yogi, he is also trying to find Krishna, Krishna's form as super soul. So as such, there's not really a difference. They're both looking after Krishna. One is looking to serve Krishna in his personal form, and one is looking to find Krishna in his form as Paramatma. Sankhya, however, means physical study of the cosmic situation through speculative knowledge. This is generally known as Gyan Shastra. The Sankhyites are attached to the impersonal Brahman, but the absolute truth is known in three ways: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Shabdayate. The absolute truth is one, but some accept him as impersonal Brahman, some as the super soul existing everywhere, and some as Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The central point is the absolute truth. So Sankhya philosophy tries to break down the material world into material elements. Does anyone remember what are those elements?
They are the sense objects.
Yes.
Then the 5 sense objects, the 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas, then man, buddhi, ahankar.
Yeah.
And then the water, air, fire, earth, the 5 of those.
Yeah.
So there are, I
That's
think,
right.
26 or 21.
24.
21?
Right?
24.
24, yeah.
24. It goes to then will come the total Mahatattva. And then the philosophy says, oh, but I'm neither of these. So who am I? Then I'm spiritual. Or I'm the
Yes.
soul. And then one can go further to understand, oh, but I didn't create all this. So who is the creator? That's the super soul.
Hmm.
So Bhagavatam says that the transcendentalists are understanding absolute truth in three ways: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti, Shabdiyate. So how can we understand this? Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan.
Prabhupada has given a very beautiful example of the train. That when you see the train coming from very far away, you can just see the light. So the Brahmavadis, they just see the light and they believe that the light is what Krishna is. But when the train comes to the platform, then you can see the form of the train. And then that is the one that the yogis, that they see the super soul, the Paramatma, that they can see that there is Paramatma. But the Bhakta, the devotee, the third part is when the train arrives at the station, a person gets in and he can see inside that how beautiful chairs are, the windows, and how nice it is. So that is the third form, Ishvara, Bhagwan, that a devotee can see that how beautiful his toes are, how beautiful his hands are, how beautiful his face is, his lips, his everything is so beautiful, his hair, his eyes. So that is how Srila Prabhupada described it.
And so Bhagwan is the supreme person, and the Brahman is?
The Brahman is the Brahm Jyoti.
Is the effulgence coming from his body.
Yes.
And the Paramatma is?
The super soul.
Yeah, by which his expansion, God's expansion as super soul, by which he is pervading this entire universe.
In everyone's heart. Okay. Yes.
In everyone's heart. Yeah.
Every kanu.
I'm sorry?
No, yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Although the impersonalists and personalists fight with one another, they focus upon the same Parabrahman, the same absolute truth. So whether one understands God as Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagwan, it's the same absolute truth that one is talking about. Only one's knowledge of the absolute truth may be partial or complete, but it's the same absolute truth. In the Yoga Shastras, Krishna is described as follows: Krishnam Vishantam Varam Ambujekshanam Chaturbhujam Shankha Gadadi Uddayudham. Thus, the pleasing appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's bodily features, his limbs, and his dress are described. The Sankhya Shastra, however, denies the existence of the Lord's transcendental form. The Sankhya Shastra says that the Supreme Absolute Truth has no hands, no legs, and no name. Iya nama rupa gunapani padam achakshur ashotram ekam advitiyam api nama rupa adikam nasti. The Vedic mantras say apani padu javano grahita. The Supreme Lord has no legs and hands, but he can accept whatever is offered to him. Actually, such statements accept that the Supreme has hands and legs, but deny that he has material hands and legs. This is why the Absolute is called Aprakrita. So when it's mentioned, oh, the Supreme has no hands and legs, it means he has no material hands and legs. Sirius Upanishad says that he can walk faster than anyone running, and we say that he can eat with his eyes and walk with his hands. So all his limbs are all transcendental, not material. Brahma Samhita is saying that also. Angani yasya sakle. So this is why the Absolute is called Aprakritas. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has a Satchidananda Vigraha, a form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, not a material form. The Sankhyites or Jnanis deny the material form, and the devotees also know very well that the Absolute Truth Bhagwan has no material form. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radha Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. So this is Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma is saying, we can see in so many of the purports, Srila Prabhupada keeps repeating this verse of Brahma Samhita to help us understand Krishna's position. This is Lord Brahma's prayers, where he is pointing out the supermost position of Krishna. The conception of the absolute without hands and legs and the conception of the absolute with hands and legs are apparently contradictory. But they both coincide with the same truth about the Supreme Absolute Person. So he has no hands and legs, and he has hands and legs. How do we understand? It's because he does not have material hands and legs, but he has spiritual hands and legs. That's the understanding, because his form is Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge, transcendental. His form is spiritual. Therefore, the word Vastu Nishthayo, which is used herein, indicates that both the yogis and Sankhyaites have faith in the reality, but are arguing about it from the different viewpoints of material and spiritual identities. Parabrahman or Brahat is the common point. The Sankhyaites and yogis are both situated in that same Brahman, but they differ because of different angles of vision. So, when you're looking at the same thing from different viewpoints, but the subject is the same. So the jnanis, the yogis, the devotees are all looking at the same absolute truth, just depending on where we are standing and looking at the absolute truth. How far we are and how close we are. The closer we are, the better knowledge we have. Just like Neha gave the example, or Srila Prabhupada would say, if the train is far away, you can't see it properly. But as it comes closer, and when it's really, you go inside, you can get the most proper information. The directions given by the Bhakti Shastra point one in the perfect direction, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service am I to be known. The Bhaktas know that the Supreme Person has no material form, whereas the Jnanis simply deny the material form. One should therefore take shelter of the Bhakti Marg, the path of devotion. Then everything will be clear. So if we are recommended to take the path of bhakti to have clear understanding, to understand, what does it mean that God has no form? So then higher understanding is, he has no material form, he has spiritual form. That's how it is said that he can walk faster than anyone running, and that he can see, that he can eat with his eyes. We are offering food to the deity. He eats with his eyes. Then everything becomes clear, because we understand, he's spiritual. It's another dimension, not material. Jnanis concentrate on the Virat Roop, the gigantic universal form of the Lord. This is a good system in the beginning for those who are extremely materialistic. But there's no need to think continuously of the Virat Roop. When Arjuna was shown the Virat Roop of Krishna, he saw it, but he did not want to see it perpetually. He therefore requested the Lord to return to his original form as 2-armed Krishna. So in the beginning, the universal form of the Lord is good to understand how God has created all the planets, all the living entities, how everything is included in the form of the Lord. But then the devotee progresses. Then he says, but I want to see Krishna's personal form, his transcendental form. That's what Arjuna did. In conclusion, learned scholars find no contradictions in the devotee's concentration upon the spiritual form of the Lord, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says that less intelligent non-devotees think that their conclusion is the ultimate, but because devotees are completely learned, they can understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal. So Madhvacharya is saying that the highest conclusion, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as one progresses, like how one goes to graduate school, then one does undergraduate, then you study the subject matter further, then you get graduate, then you study the subject matter further, then you do PhD. The subject is the same, but because you're doing further and further studies on it, the subject matter becomes more and more clearer. So the Supreme Lord has a spiritual form, Sachidananda Vigraha. Questions, comments?
I just have one question, Hare Krishna Shilpaji. So we began this verse 32 by talking about the Nastik and the Astik people. In the
We
first
began
line
by
of the
saying,
translation,
hmm,
that there are
theist and
two,
atheist. Hmm.
yeah, atheist and so Astik, and then they are explaining everything about them, right? And then
Yeah, well,
in regard with the prayers, that what Daksh Maharaj is trying to pray also, right?
yeah, here Prabhupada is also saying that Asti is who accept that God has a form. Nasti saying God has no form.
But then do they
So then
accept God? Do they believe in God, or they don't only believe in God?
some may believe in God, yes.
Okay.
And we are
Okay. Even the
talking about
Nastik one.
yeah, we are not saying Nastik. Yeah, what we are trying to understand is what does it mean that God has a form or he does not have a form.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
transcendentalists, they're all trying to look at the same absolute truth, trying to understand what is the absolute truth. And depending on where one is looking at from, one understands absolute truth as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan, as having a form or having a localized form, and the whole
Okay.
verse is about that.
So like all the Gyanis,
Yes.
like as
So
we
the
mentioned about.
Jnanis are also theists. Yeah, it's also theists.
Mm,
Yeah, not atheists, also theists,
mm,
understanding
mm,
God.
mm,
Yeah, the Brahma Gyanis, they also understand. So they're all transcendentalists. And so there is no, so the devotee understands, one who is intelligent understands that there is no contradiction. Everyone is just speaking of the same absolute truth from their own different perception. Like saying the train has the light, or then this saying the train has the bogies, or then understanding, the train not only has a light, not only has bogies, but inside if you go, it has seats, it has AC, it has, so many benches to sit on, like that. So the subject is the same, the train. Yeah. So the whole purpose was for that. The whole verse is trying to understand this point. Is that okay? The object is the same ultimate cause. So both approaching the same Supreme Brahman.
Yeah, I think I would say like direct and indirect realization.
Direct,
Correct?
indirect realization, yes. Yes.
The ultimate would be direct, but like indirectly you're going, and finally the goal is to see, right, the Lord.
Yeah.
To get,
goal is to
right?
understand God is the
Understand,
Supreme
yes.
Person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Personal form of God. To understand God is the Supreme Person. Yeah. So we'll stop here for today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Hare Krishna.
for listening and enjoying Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur
Jai.
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.